Welcome everyone. Welcome to Business Principles. There's a lot of material to cover in the next 7 weeks, so I'm going to try to guide you through it. I know there's a lot of material. I'm going to get you to focus on certain areas. I'm hoping to help you work out, what you have to do on your assignments so you understand what's going on. And also, if you follow the numbering system on the assignments, when you want feedback, I can extract a line off of my rubric to be able to show you each mark for each area on the assignment. Like so for 1A, I would have a mark of say 3 marks. So you'd see what you got marked on 1A, maybe 2 versus 3 marks or 1 versus 3 marks, and you'll get an idea of how well you did on the assignment as well. And then I'm going to try to provide a lot more comments this term to be able to give you a good sense of how you're doing. Okay, so just to get started, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put on my Blackboard and kind of take you through that a little bit and cover off a few things and get to the commentary presentations. And I'll show you where the commentary presentations are on Blackboard. And again, if there's a pause, please unmute and ask questions. And I'd like you to use your emoticons. So I might get, excuse me, I might get into an area where I want to get a sense of if you're following me. And I'll ask you, show me a thumbs up emoticon that you're okay. And if you're not okay, maybe an unsmile face to let me know that I can review something or whatever. And again, I'm open to just stopping and then opening up the questions as well. And if you have something, raise your hand. Raise your hand on the remote piece to be able to let me know that you do have a question. Okay, so we'll get started. Just tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm a chemist, chemical engineer, MBA. I've worked right down from working as a laborer in my early career to leaving TELUS as a vice president. And I've worked on several boards, over the last 20 years. I've been on like 18 boards. So I understand business, from the working level all the way up through. And I'm hoping that I can share a lot of my experience with you and give you some insights so that, when you're going into your, once you leave this program or if you just continue in your job, I know some of you are working full-time and taking this course, it'll give you some insights as to how you can be a better business practitioner. And I'm going to talk a little about being more of an elite performer in the business capacity. I mean, there's no reason why we can't take a look at ourselves as elite performers, just like basketball players or virtuoso cello players or whatever. So those are the kind of things I'm going to share with you. I'm going to share some of my experience. I'm going to share, some of the things that I've learned over the years and share a lot of information around, around business and where my sources were or whatever. So I come up through the ranks. I started working, as a student, as a underground, and back then I was doing drilling and working with explosives. And then, I graduated from my program and I worked for International Nickel, where I worked as a chemist in a lab, and then I worked as an operator in one of the refineries, and then I went to Ontario Hydronuclear, and I was a process engineer on the nuclear side and mainly in the utilities, and then left that and worked at TELUS in Alberta for 10 years and worked my way up to vice president of strategic accounts. And my main experience is really strategic planning, and that's my wheelhouse. And I've got all kinds of resources, and you'll see in topic 9 we're going to cover strategic planning, but I'm going to intonate different things, all the way through because there's certain aspects of how you do strategic planning that are common to a lot of elements in just doing regular business. So I'll cover that off. So let's I'll just stop right here. And does anybody want to unmute and ask a question at all? Okay, are we all good? Okay, so I'll just leave this presentation here for a sec. And let's just go to, let's just go to the Blackboard. Okay, so let me start with just the announcements. All right, in terms of, I did a welcoming somewhere. Okay, and the thing is, I'm hoping that you read this announcement. You'll get a sense of where I'm coming from, and you'll get a sense of what the course is all about. The course is two-part. I mean, the main bulk is in the topics, in Blackboard, but you're going to do some 30 plus surveys in Pearson or Revel. And that's to allow you to get a baseline. We need a baseline as to where we're going to work from, be it a personal goal or be it a corporate goal. And that's the whole idea. And just, right off the top, to do these surveys, if you were paying a consultant to help you do these surveys, it would be thousands of dollars. So take advantage of this, and what to do is when you do these surveys, you take a screenshot of each survey and keep that in your files. And at the end of the, in topic 13 and 13B, you're going to have to show me, 25 plus surveys on a PDF that you've done that to get 3 marks on the participation side. And again, some of you, if you decide that you're going to be on the 14-day grace period of Pearson, after the 14-day, your records get taken away, so that keep on top of your records as you do this. Again, I gave you a little information. You can find my bio in Blackboard, and here's the key thing. All right, it's and I sent a message as well. Is that contacting me? I prefer the RDP email. I do look at the Blackboard email, but I'm not in my home office all the time, and I can serve you I can be much more responsive to you because a lot of times I might be in Sylvie's parking lot waiting for my wife to finish shopping, and I'm on my smartphone and I can check my email and probably get back to you, in the instant that you contact me, and then give me more information. Let me know that you're in the T section of this course, because I have the S section, and right away that saves me 10 minutes to find out, where you are and get context on what you need, and use the email header. Tell me what it is that you want me to do. And again, if it's group related, please provide your group number, and then that way I can find all your colleagues on your group and help you much more quicker, and then give me some context of why you want to contact me. And also, please provide me, the full name, your full name, like first and last name, that's on Blackboard. I know some of you have, shortened first names that you use or whatever, and that way it really gives me a look into where I need to go to find information for you. So that's, that's key. I pride myself in responding as quickly as possible. I know I say I gave you up to, I have up to 2 business days, but mainly that's, that's the, the bookends in terms of getting a hold of you. I have to be really busy, before it takes 2 days before I get back to you. And if you respond to my RDP email, I'll be a lot more responsive. Okay, the next one is, is that we want you to complete the pre-assessment. And that's in topic 1. And what that is you click on this little, you click on this pre-assessment right here, and a Google form comes up. You fill out the Google form, and it has 2 areas where you put emails in. Make sure you put in the email you want where you want the response sent to. But the second email is to send you back a copy of your submission. And what you do is you fill it all out, you hit submission, it gets submitted, and then shortly after that, if you answered that second email question, it'll send you a copy of what you've done. So that's key. We want that to get out of the way. And again, it's all about baseline. I want you to, at the end of this course, to look back and say, well, here's where I am. Here's where I was on day 1 of this course, and here's the level of capabilities and attributes that I have, and then having gone through the surveys, I've got a little more detail on what are my capabilities and everything else. And then that allows you to think, okay, where do I want to be in my career? And what kind of role do I want in that career? And then you set that, future desired end state, and you describe that. And all of a sudden now you've got where you were, the baseline, where you want to be, that vision of yourself and working in an organization somewhere or working in your own company. And then all you need to do is fill in the gap. So that's what planning is all about. It's about doing the proper gap analysis and then executing. And so that will help you. These Rebel surveys, I only wish were available to me, back in my formative years when I, just got on board as a, in my career life cycle. So that's one thing. And then by this time, I'm hoping that you've seen all my emails and that everyone, is self-enrolled into a group. And if there's any of you that aren't yet, I know by tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to just put you in a group, all right? So because we have such a short window in this course, there's so many things that you have to do, and that it would be really advantageous to yourself to be part of a group, to be able to take advantage of learning from each other and getting things done. So those are the things that I hope that you will get out of this group piece. So there will be individual submissions, where that's where everyone as an individual submit, and then you have all the protocols you have to follow in terms of, doing it on your own and all that. And then there's the group submissions, and I'm going to cover that in the first presentation, so you're going to see. But I totally recommend that you actually read the course outline, and also when you're doing these assignments, please fully read the instructions to see what you have to do. And I've got some comments on that. As a consultant, I've fulfilled a lot of requests for proposals, RFPs, and with RFPs in business, if you don't meet their requirements in terms of filling things out or don't understand it, your proposal just gets right off the table, and those are the sort of the cruel realities of business. So that you need to read the instructions on everything and understand what kind of inputs you need to do, and you need to keep in mind who is the audience for your submission, and play to that. And often I'm going to say, help me help you. And I'm hoping that organizationally, you'll use this course as really a foundation for doing the kind of work you need to in business. And what I strongly recommend as well is to take a look at the way that business articles are written. And they're written very, with the formula. You'll always see, well, the 5 things to know, or the 7 aspects of, and then how they use subtitles and titles, and then how they use bolding in lettering to really help you navigate that, that article. And that's what I'm hoping that you're going to do in this course, is help me navigate your submissions and go from there. Okay, so let's just talk about the actual tools here. All right, so if you go to course content, okay, and you start here, welcome and course outline, you're going to see I posted the welcome again, and then how to contact me. But this course outline is very important. You'll see all the milestones. You'll see all what's due when, and also what marking schemes are there, in terms of representative mark for each assignments. And there's so much detail in this course that if something's not right in the topics, the first thing that you do is go back to the course outline, and that should have the real information on it, because it's really hard for me to go through all the details and update maybe some of the milestones or whatever inside of the topics. I've missed a couple, I pick up on them, and the more that you tell me that I've missed, the quicker I will to update what's going on. All right. So the course line is very important. The way that you communicate with me is use my RDP email, and use the header, and let me know which group you're in, and give me your full name, and let me know what you need, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and then check out my bio. Okay, so we're gonna do 13 topics in this course. So from topic 1 to 13. And here's a piece now that I've started to work at, as I've taken on this course. And it's called the topic/weekly commentary, because on a regular term, each topic is a week, and I can do that in this timeline here. We're going to be covering 2 topics a week. Okay, so let's go into that. And so I'm going into that, and you can see that what I have in these topic commentaries, the most important one is the topic and number, topic 1 commentary. Here's the revision number, and it's a presentation. And this is what we're going to cover in our webinars. And what it is, it's a presentation to help you focus on the materials. And I'll show you, the layout on how you do that in the first topic. I've got a little drawing to show you. The main thing is to go through this topic 1 with me. I'm gonna make these videos, and they're going to be on a YouTube channel that you can access anytime you want. And in case you missed one real time or whatever, and that really points you to the topic presentations in the topic. So in each topic presentation, let's go to topic 1. You're going to see, among other things, is this topic presentation. And these presentations here are roughly run, between 70 and about 130 slides. So there's a lot of key information there. So let's go back to where I was here. So I'm going to comment on where to go to study for the test. And you're going to see how I've highlighted things and how I've used bolded print to be able to show you what's more important and how to focus on studying for the test. Because, like I said, there's a lot of information. But again, take consideration of this course as a sort of a capstone course where it's got a lot of information. And if you keep that information, when you get into your career, in a big way, you'll be able to go back and look at different tools or different management principles to be able to help you go forward. All right, and I'll talk about that a little more. And you can see what I've done is, in some cases here, I've given you additional information just for your information. Now, this additional information, does it have any test questions in it? No. Your test questions will be really on the material that's shown in the topics, and my topic commentary presentation will direct you to those key areas where you need to give more focus to understand what you need to know to be successful in this course. Okay, so that's what that's all about. You're going to be working, doing the test remotely. So the test 1 and test 2 will be scheduled out of our normal timeline, during the week. And then test number 3 will be scheduled during the examination week. Each test will run, 80, 90 minutes, mainly 80 minutes, but, the registrar wants different terms. So I say 90 minutes. There's normally 50 multiple choice questions, and they're going to be scrambled all over the place. So you really need to know your material in the areas that the test covers. So test 1 is going to cover topic 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 2 will go 5, 6, 7, 8. And then test 3 will cover 9, 10, 11, 12 topics. And then the 13th topic is informational, but there's still some participation activities that you have to do in topic 13, just so you know that that's what needs to get done. And also, I have some information here on lockdown browsers. So your test will be remote, and you will need the lockdown browser, and you will also need to have your webcam operating. And there's instructions on doing that. And especially people that have Chromebooks, the system isn't fully adjusted to Chromebooks. And if you go to these instructions on the lockdown browser, they specifically deal with Chromebooks. So what I'd recommend is, do a test, to make sure that everything's working. And I have some of those tests in the topics that you can do that, and make sure that everything's operating before the time of the test. And these tests will be fixed. They will be on a certain day at a certain time of day. And if you want something different, you have to inform me well ahead and show me that there's a substantive reason why you cannot do that test at a particular time and date, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so that's where that is. And also, I do have a link here, and I'm going to show you that in the presentation, so you can get right to the MS Teams webinar, right there by clicking on that link. Okay, so that's about as much as I was going to cover about Blackboard. Here's your 13 topics. Here's where you find out of the topic commentary for each one. And also, I send a lot of Blackboard announcements. So please check your Blackboard announcements on a regular basis. I'm asking you that, you may be in Blackboard. You may want to submit, a Blackboard email to me. I'm fine with that, but like I said, I'm not in my home office all the time. It might be a little longer before I get back to you on that. Okay. All right. So that's where that is. Okay. So let's go to, let's just go to the topic 1 presentation. Okay. So can everyone see this presentation now? Am I sharing it properly? You can just give me a thumbs up on the screen. Okay, great. Okay, so this is what they look like, and what I'm going to reflect is really what's due, in terms of deliverables, and then what to focus on, and then I'm going to give you some aspects of material that I think you may be of value to you, and if you want anything different on there, or if you want to cover off different things, during the webinar, I'm happy to do that, and because of this week, we've already lost a full 3 hour based on the schedule. What I'm going to do is I probably will set up some rooms on MS Teams so that we can do a little bit of just group work or whatever to kind of make it interesting. But that's going to be down the road. Right now, we're trying to just catch up, and so I'm going to cover basically the essence of what's going on. And normally, what you have to do is, apart from the assignments, there's at least 2 participative activities that you have to do in each topic. So that means that's going to be like 4 small assignments for you each week, plus the main assignments that are covered off on the course outline. But I've got a little more detail in the presentation here, so you can go back to this topic 1 and review what's needed and everything else. So I guess if you're not sure about something, the first place to go to is the course outline. And then the second place would go to the topic commentary for each topic, given which week we're in. And then the third one is, please contact me, and if there's something that's not right, I will change it for you. Okay. Okay. So again, this is just a to show you where this link is for MS Teams. And there's something I'm not sure of the technology, but sometimes I get muted, and I'll keep on talking and I don't realize I'm muted. So I would appreciate if anybody that detects it right away, unmute and tell me that I'm muted, because it's on tape. I have to go back and start where I think where I started to get muted and go forward. So that would help me greatly. It hasn't happened lately, but it's happened in the past, and it's a little bit painful, when I might talk for 5 minutes before somebody says, well, sir, I can't hear you. So please let me know. And if there's something that you need to get across, just unmute and let me know, and then use the chat as well. So I'm responding to the chat. So that's the first slide. So we're going to talk about Stephen Covey a lot. I guess Stephen Covey wrote the 7 Habits of Very Effective People, and his son Franklin Covey has taken over from the business and has done a lot of really good management work from the Franklin Covey Institute. or the Franklin Institute, sorry. And I want to share some of that stuff, especially in terms of how to write up goals, because the better that you can write up goals, the more focused your organization or your team will be to be able to be successful and really get into the outcomes that you want to get to. And goals are all about facilitating execution. Stephen Covey has a pretty a soft spot in my heart, but one of his most famous quotes is "Begin with the end in mind," and that begins with the vision, or that begins of where do we want to go, right? And that's what I'm going to try to show you, in this topic 1, where do we want to go, right? And so what we want to do is we want to explore management principles and theories and concepts and framework. But let's talk about the theories, though. You might say, well, why do we have to learn about some theories that are 50 years old? All right. Well, just I want you to take a look at where we're going, and your cohort, business generation, is going to be impacted by AI if it's not being impacted right now. And what that means is that you're going to have to innovate, and the theories of the day are not going to work for you. But if you don't understand how the theories of the day came from an evolution, then you won't really have a good insight on how to evolve further, right? And it's no doubt, like I come from the telecommunications industry. Well, how did telephones start? Well, it was just a sense of wires and connections, and you had physical operators that would unplug and then replug to connect the line, right? And then the technology came, and there was a mechanical switch where this was done mechanically, so it replaced those people plugging in there. But they learned from, what did the humans have to do to make those changes? And then from the mechanical switch, it went to the electromechanical switch. And so those innovations were based on what they knew past and how they could evolve. And then the electromechanical went to a computer operated switch. And in today's world, we're into optical switches, that switches fiber optic connections. And if you take a look, some of the same terminology that's used in optical switches, you can trace back to where they originated way back when. And so that you need that sense of history to understand an evolution, so that you know how to learn and how to go from what's you basically honor the past and you embrace the future, and that's what helps the understanding and helping people to adapt to it, because it's not totally new. There's some constructs there that come from a tradition that you can elaborate on to go forward. So that's why we're doing this, all right? And you're going to see that, and especially again, once AI starts changing the way that we do work and changing the way how we work with people, then you're going to have to draw into, well, this is what was done here, and this is what was done there. And in the evolution, we talk about, well, the first thing was to make it more efficient and effective, right? And then it came to, all right, so now we need better competencies. So it started to get around the competencies of people and how they could be more effective. And then it was about behaviors. Well, how can we manage behaviors in there? And that evolved into that, and then into the modern theories. But the next wave is going to be, how can we learn and use AI to be able to set management policies and manage to principles that will allow us to use that increase or that quantum leap in capability that AI is going to offer us. And here's the thing, all right? You're either going to be led by AI or you're going to lead AI. And you got to make that choice. So if you're going to lead AI, if you think continuous learning is challenging today, it's going to be continuous learning on steroids, okay? And this is why I want you to kind of, I want to introduce you to Art Turk, and you can see this on the screen here. So Art Turk is an elite business performer, all right? And what he's saying is that we should look at ourselves as elite performers of being business practitioners, just like a virtuoso, a cello player, or a baseball, professional baseball player, a professional hockey player. And there's things that we need to understand on how we can get on this journey of self-mastery to become the best that we can be. And why am I telling you this? Well, research shows that the top 20% in their field is always employed. That's what you got to think about, because at the end of the day, we're all contractors. The one job for one lifetime contract is no longer. And the contract is all about, all right, you come and work for us as an organization, we will help you develop, we will give you some rewards, but when we're done, you're done, right? So those are the kind of things that you need to understand. And just a little more about Arcturic is that he talks about deliberate practice, and where deliberate practice came from is a person by the name of Anders Ericsson. And he's passed on, but he spent 30 years studying performance and studying what makes virtuosos virtuosos, what makes professional baseball players the top of their field. And it's about practice with purpose, right? That's why they call it deliberate practice. And so that you set your level of practice to get just a better level of performance. If it's too high a level of performance, you'll never achieve it. And how to use mentors and using various methods to be able to get you to be a much better business practitioner. So I'm going to kind of lean back to that every time and talk about that, as we're doing it. But if anything, find out who Anders Ericsson is. I think this is. And okay, let me see here. I don't think I have the spelling for Ericsson, but it's roughly there. And then you'd understand, where did Arcturic get his cues from? I've got a link to a video down here. Just have a peek of, what this is all about. Art's pretty entertaining guy, so it'll be, if anything, it'll be entertaining, and you can go from there. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the course approach now, and I want you to kind of think about this. And the main reason is because there's just so much material. How are you going to make sense of that, and how are you going to be successful in this course? So that's what this is all about. So it all starts with the topic commentary. That's what we're on right now. And that topic commentary will be marked up in terms of highlighted in yellow. You're going to see some golden keys. You're going to see some bolding in lettering. And that's going to tell you where you focus on these topic slide decks that are inside of each topic. And there's 70 plus slides. Hang on, I just let a few more people in the. Okay, gonna invite all these people. All right, and then once you go through that, then you can go into the details in terms of Professor Powers has done a lot of different detailed videos on certain things. So I'll tell you right now, when you do just before you do the cupcake assignment, which is a group assignment, and that's more of a financial piece, and I'll get to that at some point in time, you really want to go through her videos to really get a sense of how do you take a look at productivity? How do you calculate it? How do you calculate cost of service, cost of goods sold, and those kind of things? So that this is not an accounting course, but if you're going to be a good leader manager, in my experience, I've done business plans with many business owners, business managers, medium-sized businesses. And what I found is the people that understood the numbers in the organization were more successful. They really had a good sense of, managing what's going on. And, what gets measured gets done. And that's, that's what you have to remember. So we start with the topic commentary. it points you into the topic slide decks. Then you venture into the topic videos. And then if you need more information, the course outline shows you on the last page of the course outline which chapters of the e-text that you get with this subscription of the Pearson Revel, which chapters correspond to which topics, and you can find more detailed information in those readings. So that's the approach. So every time we're going to start with this commentary, and then it's you need to go through this journey. And in the topic commentary, what I have in mind are mainly the test questions, and then a lot of the information that you're going to need to be able to do the individual submission and the group submission assignments, right? So that's where that's going. Okay, so I've been talking a lot. Any questions at all? Anybody want to unmute and ask a question? Are we all good? I think we're all good. So I want to see some thumbs up. We'll keep going. All good. Good. Thanks. Okay. Okay. So here's the deal: is that there are learning activities, and that's the actual surveys that you're going to do, and then there's like I said, there's 2 participation topics per two participation activities for each topic, and these are building blocks. And you'll see in the particularly in the participation topics, there's you're going to work on a gingerbread house and how to calculate cost of goods sold for the gingerbread house. Well, lo and behold, you're going to have to recalculate cost of goods sold in the group cupcake assignment. All right. And then I'm going to show you in topic 2, I'm going to actually go through this pre-assessment, sorry, not the pre-assessment survey, where are we here? Oh yeah, sorry, the manager style self-audit individual submission, that assignment, which is 10% of your marks. I'm going to show you 7 questions in that assignment that relate to all the things that we're going through in topic 1 and topic 2. So what I'd recommend is you go back to Blackboard and you go into assessments, and you'll see each one of those main assignments, print them out and have a look at what the requirements will be, so that when you're going through the topics and you're doing the Pearson Revel surveys and you're doing the participation activities, you keep that information in a good place and you earmark it, for the different assignments that you're going to have to do. Right, so it's all connected is what I'm trying to say. It all has this certain flow, and consider everything that you're doing. And even though you'll say, okay, well, these participation activities, well, they're not very big in terms of marks. No, but they're giving you the learning and the tools to be able to do well on those assignments. So it's all, with your interest in mind, going forward. And so you can see that, your T stream, the only difference here, I think, are the tests. So your first test is going to be on May 20th at a particular time, and your test number 2 is going to be on June 3rd, and then the test 3 is going to be all one time that's determined by the registrar, and I'm going to let you know what's going on. So here's the the weight in terms of the marks that you get, and hopefully by now that you've actually clicked in topic 1 and done the pre-assessment survey, and what that does is it pops up a Google Doc that I have in my in my Google area, and that you actually do that survey and then you submit it. Make sure you do the emails, because you'll get a thing back, and then I will give you a mark in Blackboard for doing that. And no different than at the end of the course, you're going to do a post-assessment survey. Same thing, it's a Google form that you're going to pull up on the link, and that's in topic 13, and then submit that, and then you're going to get a mark for that, and all these other things. Okay, so that's where that is, and we're going to bring these up time and time again. But the whole point that I'm making is that everything is a building block for everything else. So it's going to be really important to get working with your group right from the start, because some of this group stuff that you're going to do, you're going to be able to put in your group paper, you know, in the Amazon thing, and the group paper and the in the cupcake assignment. So, you know, it's to your advantage to really kind of, you know, focus on those areas. Okay. Again, you know, this is an old slide, but it's, you know, it's right below topic 13. Now I call it topic and weekly commentary, because, you know, in the regular terms, you know, we were doing one topic per week. You know, there were smaller lectures, and now we're doing, you know, we're doing 2 topics per week. So now it's called weekly or topic/weekly commentary, and that's where those presentations. So you want better marks? Know the theories and apply the theories in the assignments. So 1, read the directions of the assignments, you know, so that you know what you have to do, and then take heed to the breakdown components of the question that particularly asks you for something. And a lot of those, let's say 2 Bs or the 1 B will say, you know, which theorists and their applications apply to this particular subject that I'm asking you to address, right? So this is key, so that you know right off the bat. Okay, so some of you may want to move groups. Maybe that you got into one group and you want to move. If you want to move group, please email me, RDP email, and letting me know which group you're in and which group you want to move to. And then I will take a look. I mean, if it's, you know, it's fully enrolled, then we've got a situation. But I don't want you. I guess what I don't want to happen is that sometimes some students will be enrolled in more than one group, and then when I come to mark the assignments, it's very confusing. So that's why I'm asking for this, right? Okay, so you form this group together, and in topic 1, there's what we call a team charter, and you download that team charter, and you fill that charter out as a group, and in that team charter, basically it's a contract on how you're going to behave, and it's going to, you know, this is the link, you know, the Google link to get to that, and you're going to assign a group leader. And the only reason for that is to make it just a little easier to communicate with me. But, you know, it asks for the group leader then to upload on behalf of the team, you know, the Blackboard group team charter. And the thing is that I'm not going to look at this right away. But if there is a problem with the group, that's when I go to the group charter. And then, you know, if the group charter wasn't really focused on, well, then, you know, that's going to affect how I kind of try to manage the situation. But the whole thing is, being a 7-week course timeline, you know, you really should be, you know, at the group level right now, understanding that. And the last thing that could happen is, you know, maybe it wasn't working, and then you overcompensate for maybe a, you know, what they call a free rider in the group, and then all of a sudden, you know, you have all these other priorities, and then you just can't do that anymore. And then all of a sudden I hear about it. I don't want to hear about it late. I want to hear about it early. And that's what the team charter provides, some norms on how you're going to behave and what you're going to do. And I'd ask that you download that and have a look at it, and then upload it back up. And then I'll be checking to see what's uploaded and let you know. Okay? Any questions about the team charter? We're all good? Okay. All right.
Hi, Gary.
Yes, go ahead.
One question, please. Where can we find the CRN number?
Oh, the CRN number is actually on the course outline, but you know, I'll give it to you right now. The CRN number for this course is 5231. Okay.
Oh, so it's 5231. Okay. I thought you mentioned that it's 3 letters.
Oh,
It's
no.
A, B, or Z.
No, it's T. Yeah, it's you know, that's the name of the class. It's you know, BUS2110T, and you can see here, this is an old slide, so you can see from the last term I had streams B, C, and Z, but this, you know, this term you're in stream T. Okay,
Okay,
So this is,
noted. Thank you.
yeah, and just on that, Joy. So when you fill this out, you would put down, which team you're in. So you'd put the group number and your designation. So you'd have, business 2110T, and then your group number that you've created in that Blackboard thing. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Okay,
Okay.
so again, here's where you start doing these Pearson Rebel surveys, and hopefully you've registered by now. And right in topic 1, you'll see in these in these yellow boxes, these are all the surveys. And what I've done is that I've basically made them do the let me just go to this piece here. Um, This is just because I need to find something fast, right? Okay, so you can see that I've chosen, it's the I think the Monday of the next week as the deadline for these things. So if you take a look at what's due, these two surveys are due May 13th. May 13th is the following Monday. Okay, so that's the deadline. So if you take a look at the surveys that are in topic topic 2 are May 13th and 3 are May 13th, and then the surveys in topic 4 are May 20th. So it goes to the following Monday of what's there, because we're covering topics 1, 2, and 3 in today's session. So that's why they're all due on the same date. Okay, so those are the 2 Pearson surveys that are done. And again, the participation activities will have a really big payoff for you. Again, this is an old slide, but you're going to see that in the course outline and when they're due. And then here's your first 2 participation activities that you're going to have to get done. And the thing is that these are not the right dates, but go to the Blackboard piece where you find them, and it'll ask you to fill these out, and then say on topic 1B, just answer these questions, but very briefly. All right, these are all kind of small assignments to do. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is the whole thing, is that we're building a path, in terms of what you're going to learn in the topic, and then doing the participation activities, and then being prepared to do the assignments, and as well in the presentations, you're going to get a sense of what's on the test. All right, and again, what are we doing? We're doing a baseline. So your Pearson level surveys will give you an idea of where you're at. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And then how do you get there? And then when you can define where you are, that baseline, and you know what your vision is, it's really easy then to figure out what you need to do in terms of an action plan. Okay, so that's why you're doing that. Again, I'm a big proponent of working with mental models. And you can see that, I have this little company called Crytel, and I've made all these kind of, visuals to be able to get a sense of how to do things. So this is my visual on doing planning. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And then how do you get there? And oh, by the way, we're going to talk about total quality management, in later topics. And, this really looks like a fishbone, doesn't it? Right? Well, that's what they call an Ishikawa, and there was one of the quality gurus that started working with Ishikawas as a mental model, and these are all the components that you need to look at when you want to go from one end to another, right? So that's what you're going to look at. So I'm asking you to go into the pre-assessment. I know a lot of you have done that already. Again, you go to that red box, you click on it, you fill out the survey, and then you submit it. Okay. So again, when I talked about, this is really a gap analysis. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? How you want to get there? Let's talk about you, right? So you want to be an elite business manager, an elite performer. And you can see that, if you're just going along your merry way, things won't change that much. But if you start looking at, okay, how can I, improve my capabilities, okay, by studying and whatever, that's the operational gap. And then how can I really just jump up and get to some key desired end state, in terms of, my mastery as a business practitioner. Well, then I start thinking strategically about that, and I address the strategic gap. So here's what I have to do, and then here's how I have to adjust to be able to get to the outcomes I really want to get to, right? So that's the potential development under, from going from normal operating conditions to really kind of, making a difference. And that's what this term called deliberate practice is all about. It's really defining, these gaps and to make them reasonable so that they are achievable. Okay, so that's all I'm going to talk about that. But when you look at, your current state, where are we now? It's that baseline that's so important, and that's what those 30 plus Pearson Rebel surveys are going to do for you. And what are you doing then? Well, you're gathering information about yourself, and you're getting to see, where your strengths and weaknesses are. And then you're going to get a sense of, okay, where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in 10 years? And take a look at, what's that gap, and then start planning. And so what I'm saying is that keep this information, beyond the course, to know where you are in certain areas, and come back and revisit that, and see if you've improved. And here's something that I've learned, all right? Sometimes, people always say, well, follow your passions. Sometimes we don't even know what our passions are, and we'll get put into a position where we just do it. But what happens though, if we can start seeing how well that we're progressing, that measuring on how, what we're getting out of it, that's what fuels passion. What gets measured gets done, right? So to know where you came from and to know how you're changing and how you're moving forward, will really add to the passion that you have. So, just keep thinking about it that way. Okay, I'm just trying to look at time here. Okay, so again, this is one of my mental models. I talked about Stephen Covey. Well, this is, information from his son, Franklin Covey at the Franklin Institute. And here's something about goal setting that you should know about. If you have a whole number of goals, like 11 to 20 goals, chances are you'll never achieve excellence in any of them. So you decide, okay, well, we'll drop this down to 4 to 10 goals. Well, then maybe you'll be successful in, at best to do, 2 goals that have some excellence about them. But if you focus on what the Franklin Institute calls your wildly important goals and focus on them. So if you set 2 to 3 goals, you'll achieve those 2 to 3 goals in the execution side. And that's something to know, because one of the biggest breakdowns in corporate planning is that a lot of companies they brainstorm a whole pile of goals, don't really understand the impact of what those goals will have, and they've spread out their scarce resources and don't really achieve a lot. And that's what you have to think about. So here's something else, and again, this came from Stephen Covey. This is a 2x2 matrix. We're going to talk about 2x2 matrices a lot. So you could take a look at things are, go from not important to very important, and they go from not urgent to very urgent. And a lot of times we're stuck in this quadrant, where the thing is that they're not important, but very urgent. We want to get this out of the way, what you need to look at is quadrant 2. very important, but not urgent. And if you're not spending at least 30% of your time in very important, but not urgent, you're not building the foundations to get to that transformation you really want to go to. So those are the kind of things that you need to think about, going forward. So again, I said that all the assessments that we have are under assessments right here. And what you can do is you can print them all out. And I'd strongly recommend that you print out all these assignments and get a sense of what is in those assignments, so that as we're going through these topics, then you'll know what's important, and you'll know to really pay attention to some of those participation activities where the assignments will be asking for a similar end product. And then you'll have all the information for you, like if you're building a spreadsheet or whatever, you'll be able to use that, going forward. So it'll save you a lot of time, but it'll also give you time to kind of, get experienced in what, you're trying to learn, and you'll be a lot more proficient to work on the assignments. So here's an example, right? So I'm giving you here, this is the 14 Amazon leadership principles and why they matter. Well, reading this and going to this article and finding out, well, go to the team project, which is on Amazon. Take a look at those questions, and you'll get a sense of where this can help you, okay? But Amazon's a really good example. Why? Well, it's a organization of the future, and if you take a look at future organizations, they're mainly kind of project type organizations now. They're exploring different opportunities, along their lines of their strengths, and they're project driven, and also, they're new age in terms of, look at Amazon has AWS, which is, an AI excellence center, right? So they're a really good organization to track and see what's going on, and you can see how they've developed their own leadership principles on what's going on, and that will really give you a real bird's eye view of what's going on. And another thing is that I don't know if many of you know, but there's a Flipboard app on your smartphone, and Flipboard, you can actually target what articles you want sent to you, in terms of subjects. So myself, guess what? I have articles coming to me on business planning. I have articles coming to me on artificial intelligence, and that really kind of sets me up for learning things that I can share in these courses and in other parts of what I'm doing. So wanted you to know about that. And let me just, where's my, okay, let me just put this down here in terms of chat, just to remind you about Flipboard, all right? Well, if you haven't, if you don't have it already, investigate it, download it. I think you'll find it really interesting. Okay, so now we're getting into, test questions. We're getting into, areas of focus. And so you can see that the title here, Basic Management Functions, is highlighted in yellow. That's an indicator. So there's three types of indicators. One is, highlighting in yellow. The other one is sometimes you'll see a little golden key, the key to information. That's another place to focus. And another area is you'll see sometimes that I may have something highlighted, but I also have something bolded. I have some bolded commentary on there. So that's key. So if you take a look at this, the four basic management functions are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And now we're getting into emerging tech, which, you may want to include that when we start, getting into AI, and you have to start adjusting management principles to adapt to, the new technology. And also on the environment, I'm going to be talking to you about triple bottom line many, many times, and that's people, planet, profit. And profit now is really kind of being called prosperity, but it's the art of being a good ancestor, and I'll get into that later on. But if you take a look at it, there's going to be some theorists and some theory applications that really encompass planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So pay a lot of attention to that in terms of what you need to know for your assignments and then what you need to know for the test. Okay, so that's really key. And the thing is, on the planning side, I talked about goals already. Here on the planning side, goals, objectives, and strategies are in this planning side, and you need to understand that, and you need to understand that, in terms of leading organizations. You notice there's a little key here, right? Leading organizations, it's all about providing direction and guidance. That's all part of leading. It's about resolving conflicts and improving and motivating employees and inspiring. But the main part of leading is providing direction, all right? And so that you really need to set the direction. You need to appeal to the behavioral pieces in terms of motivation, and then as well as a leader is that you really need to build a path. And what building the path is that making sure that your employees have the right tools, they have the right connections, they have the right resources, they have the right training. Okay, so you build a path, you run, you look at the motivational pieces to keep them engaged and feeling part of the organization, and then you set the direction. So that's all part of this planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, and this will come back over and over again. But here's some key areas to focus in on, to understand it a lot better. So here's where it all comes together, right? So you want to set that strategic direction. You want to deliver results. You want to deliver results, and then you want to build sustained relationships. And you can see where the interfaces are, but all these come together to give you this aspect of how to lead, the organization, right? Okay, so this is key, and you'll see now that I've actually pulled slides right out of the topic slide decks to make it really relevant. And here's to let you know, when we talk about planning, we're going to see that a lot more in topics 9 and 10. Okay, but manage needs to do more than just increase production, right? And so that you really need to understand it. And oh, by the way, Henry File, is a theorist, and so that's one to keep in mind when you're going to be talking about these 4 functions of management, and so that you want to connect Henry File to being the theorist and what the applications are around planning, controlling, leading, and the other. Okay, so that's where that is. Okay, and then now there's types of management, and you can see again that here's a highlight, so that you got to know a lot about the types of management. And there are functional managers and there are general managers. So what's a functional manager? Well, what's a function, right? Accounting, that's a function. Marketing, that's a function. Finance, that's a function, right? So if you're leading a financial team, well, you're a functional manager, right? But you have general managers, so it may be on a general manager has several functions that report to that general manager. So they're responsible for several organizational organizational activities. So function gets down into a specific discipline part of the business, where the general manager now looks after all those different disciplines. Okay, so what do managers do? Well, they take action. They encourage other people to take action. They use information to guide people's action. So let's talk about managers. There's different levels of management, right? There's line managers, there's middle managers, there's senior managers, then there's executives. Sometimes some companies call senior managers executives. It depends on the nomenclature. But you need to understand, though, and that's research shows, if you're a line manager, guess what? That's the most trusted level in an organization, by the employees. So that if you're using information to guide people as a line manager, you better have the right information, because the currency is trust, right? In terms of getting things done, in terms of getting alignment, and alignment translates into power in organizations to get to outcomes. If you have everyone going in the same direction with the right set of ideas in terms of desired end state, then you've got absolute leverage to make sure that you get to the outcomes that you need to get to. Okay, so now let's talk about Chester Barnard, and you see that it's highlighted, so he's probably a real important person that you should know about. All right, and so he's a theorist, and he's had some theorist applications, and what he talked about is that you really need to understand the purpose and the values of an organization, and we're going to talk about that forever in terms of I want you to kind of recognize a name that if you're going to listen to any TED Talks, you want to know who Simon Sinek is. Okay, this will teach you a lot about businesses. And Simon Sinek talks about the power of why, and we'll really get into what's the purpose of the organization. And one of Simon's most powerful concept is that you take a look at the types of leaders that are followed, and they're the type of leaders that explain to their followers why they're doing something. What is the key purpose? And if you're genuine, if you're genuine to that purpose, if you align with that purpose and you're consistent, people will trust you and they will follow you. And how do you subscribe to that purpose? Well, your core values need to support that purpose. So you have to be true all the way through. You have to be congruent. Working through. So Chester Barnard talked about the basic ideology of the organization, and look at long-term, audacious goals. And that's everybody has a different term. Those are the super important goals, or the wildly important goals of the organization, and you need to do growth and development. Well, if you take a look at this, right, just where this started, and we're gonna down the road, when we're getting into kind of new management principles, we're going to come up with a term called the balanced scorecard. Well, it just didn't come out of the air. I'm sure that the people who set up the balanced scorecard, Norton and Kaplan out of Harvard, I'm sure they knew all about Chester Barnard, because if you take a look at this stuff, you're going to see that it's incorporated in the balanced scorecard approach to managing a business. So you can see how this evolution, really kind of, if you understand an evolution, you can innovate, because you can take ideas that are still relevant and reapply them a different way, to be able to come up with new concepts. All right. But here's the key, and notice this is all in highlight. And then it's in bold. The whole idea of a manager, according to Chester Barnard, is to reduce instability. It's to keep things predictable. It's to keep things absolutely stable, so that people can work with that and adjust with it, going forward. Okay, so again, let's look at Barnard's functions of executive. Well, role of management: create a system of communication, secure cooperation from individuals. That's alignment. Formulate and define the organization's purpose. That's right down to, why are we doing this? I strongly recommend that you look at Simon Sinek. And then, it really is effectiveness is survival. And, that translates later on into what we call sustainable competitive advantage. And we're going to talk about that going through. So the thing is that if there's a clear chain of command, and everyone has one, there's no zone of indifference. Subordinates will not challenge communication from superiors. And this is what happens in an organization. If there's if there's a vacuum in leadership, people in the organization will create their own leadership. You got to remember that piece as well, okay? Because they're looking, to make sense out of what they're doing, to be able to go forward. Another one now, Charles Spalding, and so you want to kind of understand what Spalding was all about. Well, he created this 8 fundamental necessities of management. So go through that and learn a little bit more about what are those 8 attributes that you need to know about, and then the organizations that are participatory, and we're going to talk about corporate social responsibility. So you're going to have to learn a lot about corporate social responsibility. There's a lot of implication, in the content on the tests about that. All right, and so now what is management? Well, there's two things. There's about doing things right. That's being efficient, and doing the right things. All right, that's being effective. And you have a lot of organizations that are doing a lot of things right, but they're the wrong things. They're not really getting to the overall outcomes that the organization wants to work for. So what you want to do is you want to do the right things right. I mean, that's what management is all about. But understand the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. So efficiency is more about doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Okay, and that's a key thing that you'll have to understand. We're going to talk a lot about Mintzberg. I know there's no highlight here, but I'd really encourage you to learn more about Mintzberg. And I'm looking at the clock, so I'm trying to work us through this 3 hours so we can get through these 3 topics. Okay, so now we get into types of management, and so there's formal management, right? And so on the formal management side, a lot of times you have quality groups. So you have a team leader, or you just have teams. The first line level of management, that's like a shift supervisor or an office manager. Then there's the middle manager, that's likely like a department head or a division manager, and then the top manager. So middle manager, in some cases, we talked about the general manager, maybe a general manager here, and then the top manager, the president and CEO, the director. So understand those pieces, and how they all fit, and you can see that their roles and responsibilities differ at different levels. Okay, so these are the typical ones. So understand what they are. The top level, the mid level, the first line management, and then you can see that here's the way they look at. So at the top here you have a lot more responsibility, but at the lower levels you have a lot more authority of manager to employee, because you got to get things done at these lower levels, with the workforce. So understand how that works. So this is a really good illustration. You notice there's a nice golden key here. You can see that at senior management, they're doing a lot more planning than at lower level management. They're doing a fair amount more organizing than lower management. But you can see here on the leading part, which leading, we talked about leading is, getting the work done in terms of directing and that. You can see at the lower level management, they're doing a lot more leading and a lot less controlling. The controlling is about, setting targets and what gets measured gets done. And most of the targets start at the top, and I'll use this word cascade, like an umbrella. There's a key goal for the organization, and that goal gets broken down into the next level of management on how they contribute to that goal, and then their goals get broken down into the next level of management on how they contribute to that level of management, and so on and so forth. So you have a cascading effect, on the controlling side, and that's how that works. Okay, so let me talk about leadership and management. So 30 years ago, there were leaders, there were managers. Today's world, you've got to, as a manager, you've got to understand leadership, and as a leader, you've got to understand management, because our world is a lot more complex. And what they've done as well is, they've taken out a lot of layers of management. So at the bottom level, say the line manager, since that line manager is most trusted, really has to have the right kind of information and the right kind of skills to be able to communicate that information and produce, the reasons why, the workforce should follow, right? So that's key. So the leader producing and responding to change, we still keep it distinct to understand them, but we really have to integrate them, I think, is the message. So the leader producing and responding to change, we're going to talk a lot about change, by seeing opportunities in instability. The manager, responds to the complexity by focusing on control and predictability, right? They're trying to manage the instability, to get things done, right? Yeah, we'll go from there. So, they come together. So I'm going to kind of scream through these. These are just kind of illustrations. I'd recommend that you go through them, but you can see that there's this overlap, in terms of what goes on, and what the focus is. And then, not all leaders are managers, nor all managers leaders. You got to have a little bit of both, and go from there. Okay, so that I'm just going to go through. Okay, so here's where Mintzberg comes in, and I'll just tell you a little bit about Henry Mintzberg. He's still a tenured professor at McGill University in Montreal, and Henry Mintzberg is the guru on strategic planning, and that's how I got to know him, because most of the stuff that I know about is really in strategic planning. But he has done a lot of organizational type work. And oh, by the way, I work for a company called Frontech, and Frontech actually hired him to help reorganize over a certain project that we had to do. All right. So he's a really strong proponent in organizational structure, in planning, in engaging employees, and in particular strategic planning. He's known around the world for strategic planning. Okay. So he talks about the qualities of a successful manager. The task of leadership is to create what? Alignment. All right. I keep on talking about alignment of strengths, so as to make people weaknesses irrelevant. All right. It's all about alignment. So here's my little what I call a business knowledge map that I created. Alignment is not just one thing. It's you need clarity on where you're going. You need to be able to focus, and then from that focus, you need an impact to get the results. So in terms of clarity, well, there's all these things in the organization, that have to align, from purpose to core values. Focus, well, you got to understand the mission. What's the value proposition of the organization? The impact. Here's where you put planning into execution. From right down to routines and habits. And oh, by the way, as individuals, 40% of what we do are habits. We have lazy brains, and 40% is, you ever caught yourself on autopilot? You're driving, down a road, and then you go 5 kilometers and realize that, oh gee, am I paying attention? Well, you're on a habit. All right, so your brain is, and so that. Just as there are habits and routines in people, there are corporate habits and routines in organizations, and you can impact those habits. You can impact those routines, to get more excellence. And then you need tools like time management and change management, people management, process management, project management, performance management. What gets measured gets done. So these are all the components, and if you want to know more about the power of alignment, here's a text that you can tap into. Okay. You really got to understand what your core values are, whether we know it or not. We make decisions based on our core values. So it really would make it interesting to know what your core values are. And I've got a link to a survey in the next topic, but that is key. And I think okay, so that's topic 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a 5-minute break, okay, and then come back for topic 2. And if you have any questions, then please ask them, or just go into the chat and ask me a question. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shut my camera down here, and then we will see you at 2:25. Okay, 6 minutes. Okay, we'll get started on topic 2 now. Again, just a reminder again, this is how we're doing this. So we're on topic 2. We're on the topic commentary presentation. And what I'm going to show you are the highlighted areas, the bolded comments, the little golden keys to really give you a sense of where to focus for studying for the test. And the next step is you go to the topic slide decks. There's 70 plus slides, and each one of those topics, you'll see that slide deck. And then if you need more additional information, you take a look at the topic videos, those presentations that are done by Professor Powers. And the thing is, especially, around the cupcake assignment, and we're going to, have a look at that piece. You're going to see where you need to calculate productivity, and you need to calculate cost of goods service, cost of goods sold, and so that in her presentations, she does a really good job of getting into more detail. And then if you go to the course outline, the last page of the course outline, again, you will see the recommended reading of the chapters for most of those topics. Some of the topics don't have that because they were introduced independently, by Professor Powers, who developed this course, okay? This is, I'm trying to give you a little bit of a helpful hints, hopefully, around going through. So let me talk about, just a second. So let me talk about real estate, okay? In real estate, the 3 most important things in real estate are what? Location, 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 right? In business, the 3 most important things are communication, communication, communication. All right, so I wanted to introduce you to Gary Gennard. And what it is I've been on his newsletters for the last 20 years. And I've learned so much about presentations, but it's not only just the technical side of making, doing a speech. It's about how to become very effective at getting your point across and engaging people. And what I'm telling you here is that if you go to his website and you register for his newsletter, by the time you read about maybe 10 or 11 newsletters that he's sent you over the year, you'll really get to know what's in his books. So you don't even have to buy his books. But what it is, it goes back to my concept around deliberate practice with Anders Ericsson, is that if you spend a little bit of time a day, each day, on learning about, how to become a better communicator, that is going to have a compound advantages for you in terms of being more of an effective manager, and in terms of engaging better, in terms of getting your points across, in terms of seeking resources. So it's got all kinds of pieces, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. So I think that's a really good source. And like I said, all you need to do is just get on his website and subscribe, and next thing you know, you've got a newsletter that comes to you every few days. So what I'm going to try and do in every one of these topics is really give you a sense of, okay, what do you need to do? So, and this should say topic 2. Again, it's a bit of an old slide, but you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 Pearson Rebel surveys that you have to do. And you go onto the topic and you click on them, and you'll get right, if you're registered, you get right into those surveys. And then, and then there's one learning activity that you need to do, and you do this right in Blackboard. So when you go to this particular learning activity, what you do is you get a list, and then you fill out that survey. You can either just type it onto a document and then upload it, and I'll show you exactly where, as we're going through this. So once I explain this slide, then we're going to actually go to True Colors so I can show you where it is. Okay, so your 2 participation activities for topic 2, they're both individual exercises. So, we're going to talk about a cognitive bias, and all you need to do is just, answer the question, just, mention one of them, and you'll see in the topic itself what you have to do. And then the next one is that, you're gonna look at, what your, identify your personality dimensions from 2 theories. So here's where you're starting to get some of your personality dimensions, and then show, what what theories that your dimensions kind of align to. So that's what that's all about. Okay, so by now though is that everybody should be in their group, and if there, like I said, if there's any people that aren't in groups, try to do that today. And if you're still not, then I'm going to have to assign you, because topic 3 already starts with group participation activities. What I'm going to try and do as well is that I want to introduce a white space. Can't do it this week because there's just too much to cover, but just a few minutes during our webinar where we can discuss anything that you want to discuss. A lot of you are working, you're in particular jobs. Maybe you've got some, leadership or management issues that you maybe want to, talk about or clarify about. And so that's what this white space is intended to do. And, if I don't bring it up, just send me an email and say, hey, I'd like to talk about this, or I'd like you to research a little bit about this and tell us about, what we can do. Today, I'm going to cover the first assignment, the individual submission assignment, and so that kind of explain, what I'm looking for. And then I just want to reaffirm that I will respond to emails that you do through Blackboard. I will, but I won't respond quickly because I'm not in my home office all the time. And so that if have a look at the announcements, on Blackboard, there's a little description of what I'd like to see in communications, but mostly tell me what stream you're in. Let me know that you're in stream T. Tell me what group you're in so that I know, it's less administrivia for me to respond to you. And chances are, I'm in Sobeys parking lot waiting for my wife to, come out of grocery shopping, and I could probably respond to you like right there on the spot, rather than have to go to my home office and then figure out, what you're trying to do, or what you'd like to know about. So that's, that's why I'm asking you, please, that's my preferential mode of communication is RDP email, gary.sarantola@rdpolytech.ca. Okay, so that's where that is. Okay, I'm going to leave this one, but okay, so now we're starting to get in again through the highlighting. So this slide right here was pulled right out of the topic 2 slide deck, but you can see that, I want you to know, what a directive style is, what an analytical style is, what a conceptual style is, what a behavioral style is. All right, and those are decision-making styles, and you're going to see, 2 slides up here on, or the next slide, I guess. You're going to see, the assignment that you're going to be given, so that you really need to kind of understand what this is. And if you have that assignment in front of you, it'll give you a chance to kind of really, go in and focus on some of these key things to be able to get better marks on the assignments. Okay, so we're going to ask you, what kind of decision making are you in that next assignment? So are you a directive, or do you have this directive style? And the thing is that styles are, they're not, they're not static. You have a preferential style, but most HR, leading HR consulting firms, global consulting firms are telling you that you should have you should know about at least 4 different styles that you can adapt to, because most management situations now, it's all based on conditions. It's all situational. It's situational management. So your most confident style might be directive, but in some cases, if the situation is very creative, and you need to depend on the skills and the capabilities and the talents of those people, you can't tell them what to do, from a directive style. You have to be a lot more of the behavioral style. How would you want to do this? And work from there. So that's why we're covering these styles, but you need to know what they are. Okay, so let's get right into the manager style self audit, and it's an individual submission, and I always put a revision here to know when it was revided. This is going to be a makeup of 10% of your marks, and again, let's just see when that's due. Okay, so that's due May 21, right? So, you know, we're May the 7th right now. So there's still going to be a lot of learning in a few more of these topics that you're going to be able to apply that learning in this assignment. But take a look at this. You can see how I want, you know, I'm adding structure, and there's a few reasons why I'm adding structure. One, when you answer the question, I want you to put what kind of manager as a main header. And then you answer that question by going through these three components, and then use, you know, 1A, what kind of manager are you? And then you answer that question. You know, that's a self-reflect, right? But now here's where it, you know, you start getting into applying that, and this is why I want you to. I'm trying to get you to think more critically. You know, use critical thinking. Okay, what kind of manager? Yeah, but you know, why does that matter? Okay, why does that matter to you? And then, so the second question would be, how do you know? You know, whose management theorists and applied theories apply to you? I want you to specifically mention that. So, because when you're addressing an assertion, you provide an assertion, you need to back up that assertion. You know, people want to know that you've done your due diligence. You know, if you're putting in a proposal and if you say, yeah, we can increase sales by 10%. Well, they want to know, yeah, how are you going to do that, right? Why are you going to do that? So that's why, you know, and that's where you're getting to the point. That's where you're going to get people on board. So that's why I'm asking you that type of question as a B portion. And you can see in the blocks, that's this overall question is worth 7 marks. So when you answer A, you can get up to 1 mark. When you answer B, you can get up to 3 marks. And when you answer C, you can get up to 3 marks. 3, 3, 1, make 7, okay? And the thing is I have a rubric, and it's an Excel spreadsheet, and my rubric goes with those questions, all right, all the way through. And so that if you want to understand how well you did on that or where you could have done better, I will send you that line. So if you follow the numbering, then you can see, okay, well, this is 3 points and you got 3 points. Wow, yeah, you got that right. And then this is 3 points, but you got 1 point. Well, then you know that, oh, that's where I fell down, and I should have maybe added another theorist or talked more about an applied theory, right? So that's the type of approach that I want you to take. And again, if you take this kind of approach in terms of communicating very organized, it's going to serve you well, you know, throughout, you know, your college timeline, and then it'll serve you well, you know, in the role that you want to get into as you get into a career. All right. So again, so what is this self-audit all about? Well, we want to know, what kind of manager are you? What type of decision maker are you? Well, that's topic 2. So already, you know, we're going to say, okay, what kind of decision? We're going to talk about different types of decision makers. We just did, you know, when we talked about decision style. How do you know? Well, you know, what theorist is out there? So we're going to learn a lot about more theorists. And the thing is, you don't have to just use the theorist that's in this content. If you want to go out and research and find a theorist, say on decision-making theory, that supports the way you want to do so, by all means do so and reference it. I'm fine with that. Okay, and then you know, why do you subscribe, you know, to the type of decision maker area? You know, why is it working for you or whatever? So you answer that question. Okay, so another one, you know, what level of management would be most successful in? Well, then, you know, at what level of management do you aspire to work to? Describe the type of ownership model. I mean, there's some of you that are coming right out of working in family businesses, and you know, you need to you need to know, you know, are you better off working in a family business or maybe a large corporation like Amazon, and why? All right. And here's one question that I've seen the answer to that needs a little bit clarification. You know, question number 4. Do you answer do answers 1 and 3 change if you are running and working in a family business or working for Amazon? The answer is yes. All right. Now, you're still the same person, and you know, you still have the same set of core values, and what you do is really important, and how you work with people and engage them. But the thing is that in a family business, they make decisions differently. They execute differently versus in a Amazon organization where it's policy driven and there's, procedures and there's protocols and there's, like key performance things to make, so that you may be the same person from a core values point of view, but you need a different style of management. So you want to answer that question appropriately. So that's number 4 in that. And then the next one is that whose theories on management, decision making, or effective organization discussed so far would you employ as a manager and why? Okay, and then there's some that just don't fit. So if you take it, I think it's McGregor that has theory X, theory Y. Theory X is an old type of management style. And how did that work? You just assume that workers were not motivated. They weren't dedicated to the job, so you had to direct them strongly. Well, that may not apply in most cases in today's world, right? So those are there's some kind of theorists and theorist applications that don't fit, maybe where you'd want to work, or don't fit the times, and explain that. And then again, what type of organizational structure would you be most successful working in? Well, you identify that structure, say it's, like give it, a category for that structure that we're going to be taking, and then discuss the attributes of that structure so that I know that you really know what this is all about, and then describe, the attributes that would help you be the most successful. So for example, maybe like a bureaucratic structure, where, like say the military. Well, there's, the very strong chain of command. There's a very, like a deliberate, one-on-one chain of command. There's very direct procedures and things, and it's all about execution. Okay, so so that you could say, hey, you know what, that fits me. So I could work in a a police service or a fire service, because it fits, my personal style, and it fits on how I can work best to be able to, there's a lot more predictability for me rather than, working in say Google, in a place where they're trying to develop a new product. Well, then, it's all about, behavioral type styles to allow people to be more creative. So that's where we're getting at on this assignment. If you have any other questions on this, you can email me, all right, and let me know what you're looking for. Here's one article that I just came up that I saw that it really kind of, and this is the link. So if you go to this link, you can find that article. But here's it's a Harvard Business Review, but it's how AI can help leaders make better decisions under pressure. And the thing is that I'll be saying this a lot, is that you're either going to be led by AI or you're going to lead. All right. And so if you're going to lead, it means that you need to develop the skills around decision making. You need to develop the skills around critical thinking and strategic assessment to be able to guide AI to be productive and get the most out of it, to be the most successful going through. So this is really really key for your business cohort group, because we're in AI already. That AI has been incorporated over the last 4 years in industry, an increase of 270% in the last 4 years. So you can see where this is going. And at some point, there's going to be a tipping point where you're really going to need different management principles to make this work better. Because AI is going to do a lot of bad things, as long as it is a lot of good things, because it's cut and dry right now, in terms of, the algorithms get it to do specific things, which may have, not so good repercussions. So you need to step back. And again, when I talk about evolution, we're in the new era of management principles where empathy is going to come in. I'm a chemist. Enthalpy. Okay, empathy is going to come into play more, and that's where this triple bottom line thing that I keep talking about. You're going to have to understand that a lot better, because we really need to start to look at what are the social implications? What are the environmental implications? And how do we, be good ancestors? So this is a really good article to kind of understand where we're going. And so here's the crux of this article. AI-powered technologies can drive faster, better decision making. Why? Real-time tracking and improved prediction on the ground business developments. When you take a look at it, in marketing, in my day, it was all about trying to predict consumer behavior. Today, with artificial intelligence into, bots that go into social media, we can measure behavior. You can really see, like real time, really what are they looking for? What are they asking for just by what they're doing? So that already gives you a lot of good ideas to improve, your prediction on how your product is going to do well. The second one, you can do virtual role play to train workers in lifelike business scenarios. So you can test things, and lo and behold, I mean, this has been around for a long time. Back in the 70s, scenario planning was made famous by the Royal Dutch Shell Group. And not only famous, it made them rich, because using scenario planning, and what scenario planning is all about, it's not, what's the worst thing that can happen, what's the best thing. It's 3 plausible, outcomes that could happen. And it's the discussion that goes around that enlightens people, so they may not leave in scenario planning with a particular plan, but they will have gone through a lot of the critical thinking around, how would you respond? What, and really makes you more aware of your talent inventory, of your capabilities and whatever. So AI will allow people to role play, in that scenario planning, role play to train these workers. And not only that, that ties right into Anders Ericsson when he talks about deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is to train specifically related to the task and up the target a little bit to be able to force people to develop and stretch and coach them while they're doing it. So AI and deliberate practice really go together well. And then the next one is that emerging generative AI tools. I mean, they're sounding boards. We can measure all kinds of stuff and test our ideas on those, on those kind of things, on the predictive capability of what AI can do for us. So it's going to be a big change for us, and also how that's going to impact, the way that we manage, right? And so we need to come up with a new series of management principles. And that's why we're learning all these, is that we can get an idea of where we came from. Okay, so there's different styles, and the thing is that it's not one style is better than the other. It's recognizing, what kind of decision-making style that you do have, because you want to know if your particular decision-making style is going to apply in a different scenario. It's all situational. The situation may be different, and the way that you make decisions may not be the right way. So let's take a look at it. So right now you're in an area where you're in a manufacturing piece, and everything is really laid out. You produce 10 machines an hour. You know where your parts are coming from or whatever. And the thing is, it's all about having a directive style. You're telling these people, here's what you have to do. There's the performance requirements. All right. Then all of a sudden, you need to put together a team that's going to take a look at an improvement on that. And all of a sudden, you need more creativity out of your employees. Well, you can't tell people how, have better ideas, right? So you need to switch to a behavioral style, and then be receptive to suggestions. Be receptive to tapping into other people's talents and let them flourish to come up with some great ideas. So that, you need to adjust those styles, for the particular situation. And again, I keep on putting, this is a triple bottom line logo, where we need to worry about planet, people, and prosperity, which is profit in most cases. And so that you need to take a look at the implications of using your particular decision style and how that affects society, how that affects the environment. And that should be a guiding force to be, a good ancestor. Okay, so here's a model, garbage can model, right? I've used it. Yeah, I've used it. I've done some town hall meetings. I've done a lot of facilitation and, in my past life. And what it is that it's a gong show, right? So what are you doing? You're looking at many problems. You're looking at many solutions. You're looking at many decision makers, and then you have all kinds of opportunities. So they call it like an organized anarchist view of decision making, because everybody's going there with their own agenda. But it does have a lot of purpose, because because of the diversity of opinion and approaches, you can pull out some really innovative ideas, no doubt about that. But the best thing that it will do, it gains a buy-in. It gains alignment, so that if everybody feels that they were part of the decision making, then they're more apt to support that decision, in terms of outcomes. So that's, so learn more about that. You can see that it's highlighted. Here's a little more about, organized anarchies. And the thing is, problem solutions are loosely coupled. There's a lot of bargaining going on. All participants involved do not get the chance to fully participate. So understand that. And the thing is, it brings out, some choice opportunities, and you can see these, like public forums and that. That's the garbage can model. And I know that in certain cases, even at TELUS, the CEO would have what we call employee forums, and they would say, here, we have a notion that this is the direction that we're taking, and we want your opinion. And we all get put into small groups and try to brainstorm on how we can, help doing that. But the caveat at the end was, we're going to take your opinion, we're going to look at it. Some of it we may not, acknowledge. No, sorry, not acknowledge. We may not, go down that road. But we're going to weigh that against what we're going to do, and then we're going to get back to you and show you, what we've determined from the collective, right? And that works. That works because people are on board and people understand that just because I have a solution doesn't mean it's the right one, but I want my voice to be known, and maybe I may impact, the overall decision making, to get to a specific outcome, right? So again, here's a little more. This slide comes right out of the topic 2, and so what are the outcomes? Resolution to solve a problem, oversight, taken before the problem. You need some oversight, and those kind of things. So go through this piece. This is an important piece to know about. And then, okay, decision making. In terms of, do you do it as individuals or you do it as groups? If you do it as individuals, then how much buy-in or alignment can you get? And so with a group, you get buy-in. You get creativity, but the thing is that the more in a group, a lot more time it takes. So sometimes you don't have the luxury of time, so you have to be careful about how many people that you put in that group, right? And you're gonna look to Amazon. Amazon has the 2 pizza rule, right? And that's a pretty good rule. 2 pizzas is normally about 8 people, right? So whoever can eat 2 pizzas, that's how many the group, no more than 2 pizzas. And I used to do a lot of focus groups, in my consulting time, and very seldom did you ever, ever get into a room of more than 12 people, because you just can't handle the discussion and everything else. So the size matters, and also, if you want to come to a resolution, you always use an odd number. Because the worst thing that you need is, like, say you have 8 people and 4 take one side and 4 take the other, and then you've got a stalemate. So with 7, chances are, you're going to get to a resolution. So those are the kind of things that you need to consider. All right. So, but there's a lot of advantages to group, and it's, if you take a look at the Fortune 500, the companies that are leading in the Fortune 500. It's been proven they have more diverse boards, all right? So they have a lot of diversity, which means they have a good pool of knowledge. They can recognize the diverse alternatives. There's a lot of intellectual simulation. So there's a lot of advantages there. But then on the disadvantage side, and you'll notice again that it's highlighted, there's a pressure to conform, and especially in instances where you'll find a lot of medium-sized companies that had the same board of directors for the last 10 years. They all know each other. They all know their idiosyncrasies, and they know how they're going to trigger something, and they're more apt to just stay in line. Don't rock the boat, and they all agree on this thing all the time, and that's groupthink. And what does it do? It compromises outcomes, because you never really get to a breakthrough in terms of finding a solution that is amazing, sort of thing, right? So and again, you're going to learn about satisficing. If you're into groupthink, and somebody comes up with a solution, and it's not worth the pain to try to look at alternatives, that is satisficing. You're stuck with the outcomes of that one solution, and you don't really look at many more implications. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So you need to understand the difference between satisficing and satisfying. Satisficing is that, yeah, that'll do. Okay, we don't need to look at it anymore. We've got the solution. It's going to work for us. Will it be great? Maybe not, but it's going to work for us. That's satisficing. Satisfying, well, that's going beyond and really trying to deal with what's finding a great solution that has long-term resilience in getting things done. Okay, so again, understand what this groupthink is. There's a lot of big descriptions, not going to cover them all. But what does it do? It undermines critical thinking, reduces objectivity. Okay, so what causes it and what minimizes it, right? So this is a slide that you need to worry about. And then bounded rationality. So it's a rational model, it makes sense, but it's limited. It's limited to process all the information. All right, and there's different ways of being bounded. Okay, so it could be maybe you don't have enough resources, and you leave it at that. You say, well, we only have limited resources. This is all we can do. And sometimes that it gets back to a satisficing model. You stop looking for alternatives. When you come across that. So that's not good. Sometimes it's hubris. It's like, hey, we're the best at this, and why do we need to look at it anymore? So that's bounded rationality, and then there's approaches to decision making. So understand that, bounded awareness, bounded ethically, bounded rationality, bounded willpower, bounded self-interest, so that you're containing yourself, you're limiting yourself instead of opening up and really looking at what's available out there. What are we really trying to do, and how can we how can we be a lot more innovative, to be able to do that. Let's think out of the box, right? So that's that's the other side of bounded rationality. Okay, and then there's a decision-making process, and what I'd like to tell you about a decision-making process is that you should, as a business practitioner, as a student, find a business-making process that works for you, and study it, and internalize it, and use it, and you'll find that it's all about making the right choices, and so that if it works for you, then you've got a model in your head that you can always go back to, and it will it'll give you all the boxes to check off to make sure that you've done the right things to be able to make to select the best alternative. All right, so here's sort of a typical one. This is the rational decision-making process. So normally you identify the problem. So here's one thing about identifying the problem. Einstein says identifying the problem effectively basically gives you the solution. So 90% of the solution comes by scoping the problem properly. There's a group called Kepner-Trigo, and they talk about identifying the problem as understood. So you look at the full implications of that problem. So what does it do then? I talked about earlier, I talked about understanding a baseline and understanding a vision of where you need to go, right? So where are you now? Where do you want to be? Well, that defines the gap. So if you know exactly where you are, the baseline, you've identified that problem and you know where you want to go, well, then it becomes pretty evident on how to fill that gap in terms of activities or goals or whatever. All right. So when you do that, when you identify that problem, now you need to establish some decision criteria, because some aspects, factors, are more important than others. And you want to make sure that that comes into the decision, right? So what you will do then is you will use a weight decision criteria, where you'll put a little more weight on a particular factor that you think is key or critical to the success of the organization, right? And then based on that, you generate alternatives, and you'll see that I've got a little square here that says the TQM way. Well, that stands for total quality management. And in total quality management, what they teach you is that you should have several alternatives to compare against. You never go with the one alternative that's going to do it for you. That's satisficing, right? So we're as human beings, we're really good at comparing. We're much better comparing than we are at conceptualizing. So it's always good to have, in the TQM way, at least 3 alternatives. And this is normally what happens with 3 alternatives. You start looking at those 3 alternatives and you start picking the best out of each one to create a 4th alternative. That's the ultimate in having, different alternatives and weighing, the decision criteria based on which one is the best, right? So you evaluate those alternatives and you select the best one. But what you need to think about as well is you think about opportunity cost. And so I'm hoping that some of you will be taking or have taken economics, and you really should understand opportunity cost when you're making a decision. What do you have to give up to get? That's opportunity cost. What do you have to give up to get? And the whole idea is the alternative that you select has to bring you more value based on what you had to give up to get than the next best alternative. And that's what makes it the best alternative. Okay, so think about that. Okay, here's something that you need to understand. I don't know if you've heard this term before. It's called winning hearts and minds. But you can't do both. You do this, winning minds. That's the rational aspects of making a decision, or you make this emotional decision, right? So what it is that mainly, when you're looking at winning hearts, it's because the decision's been made, and you're going to find that that's life in organizations. The CEO decides, hey, we're getting out of product A, right? So and you're a manager of product A and product B, and you've got to look at the people at product A and saying, you know what, it was a corporate decision. And so what you want to do is emotionally, appeal to them to say, well, this is why we're doing this. You give them the reasons, and then you're trying to resolve the conflicts around that, and you're trying to find solutions into maybe moving those people into jobs in product B or in other parts of the company. So that's the winning hearts part of it. It's mainly when the decision has already been made, right? So here's an article on that you can find out more about. And then here's this kind of the traditional decision-making process. I kind of covered it, but you identify the problem, you identify the decision criteria, you allocate the weights, you develop the alternatives, you analyze those alternatives, you select one, you implement that alternative, but it never stops there, because guess what? So you've made this decision based on some key assumptions, and assumptions are just what they are, assumptions. And sometimes assumptions are not relevant, as the future, comes into play. And so that you need to be looking at things and reevaluating and saying, oh, hang on, we assumed, that wages were going to go up by 10%, but hey, they're gone up at 20%. Oh, so now we have to relook at the costs of our overall production to stay profitable, right? So it's you need to take that in consideration. I mentioned Kepner-Trigo, right? So Kepner-Trigo's, what they talked about, that when they what is the problem and what the problem isn't, right? And a clear definition of the problem is 90% of the solution. Because when you can lay out what the problem isn't, you've already made a better scoping of that problem. Because now you can really focus in on the root causes, right? And that's again part of a little bit of a total quality management. So when I talk about factor analysis or factor rating analysis, what it is that you're going to have different factors, and say like you're looking at choosing a franchise location at Starbucks. Well, one of the factors is actual the availability of location, right? Because that location is a really important factor. So you want good available locations that have the traffic in that area. So that would have a high weight, right? And you would rate that availability, maybe 1 to 5, and say the rate was 3. So you'd multiply 3 times what the weighting is, and normally the weighting is in terms of 100%. Sometimes it's so the weighting might be that's 50% important, right? So your 3 times 50% would be 150. So that would be a higher rating. So this is how it all comes together. You can see that you have the weighting, for each factor, and then you have the rating, the rating, and then so you multiply the weighting times the rating to get the actual ranking or weighted rate. And then you can see that this weighting here, this is all in point figures. So really, this is 100%, right? So these weights of importance are different. You can see the tax structure right here has the highest weighting. So that's a key factor of consideration in making your decision on either locating in France or Denmark. But then after you calculate these weighted scores, then the one with the highest weighted score is your best alternative, right? That's how it works. Okay. Now, if you want more information about that, I thought I had, yeah, you can see down here that I found a video that kind of covers this off. No, that's not the video. Sorry, I'm confusing you here. Yeah, this is the way it works. And if you want more information, just email me. But that's really how it works. But now there's types of decisions. And what we have is you look at there's structured problems and there's unstructured problems. Okay, so let's talk about a structured problem. You want to return smartphones. So it's very cut and dry, right? Customer has a problem with their smartphone. They may want to bring it to a drop-off location. The drop-off location will diagnose roughly what the problem is and send it to a repair shop. The repair shop will fix it, and then they'll send it back to a pickup place. Then the customer will pick it up. It's very structured. So there's clear procedures on how to set that up. There's clear rules, on the time delays required and clear guidelines. But all of a sudden now, an unstructured problem is that maybe you want to figure out, you want to be able to measure the dissatisfaction of having to fix their smartphone. Well, you don't have too much to go by. There's all these unknowns that you need to explore. So the information is ambiguous. So that requires a whole different set of skills. So that, when you're looking at making a decision, understanding if it's a structured problem or an unstructured problem, you know what work is cut out for you, right? So you need to know that. Okay, and then you make decisions around certainty, risk, and uncertainty. So the thing is that you know that let's say you've been looking at trends, and the trends are so distinct that you know that your product costs are going to go up 10% every year, and let's say that let's say for argument's sake that is certain. All right, well then you'll make decisions saying, okay, well we're going to look at trying to take costs out of our product and look at profitability and make decisions on that based on knowing for sure that the prices are going to go up, and then risk is a whole different thing, so that what's a good risk one? The thing is that, yeah, all right, so we know the costs are going to go up, but which costs and how is that going to impact us? So that the decision maker has to estimate the likelihood of each one of those outcomes. And then straight uncertainty. Yeah, we know it's going 10% a year, but we don't know if there's going to be another pandemic. We don't know if supply chains are going to get interrupted, right? So you need to know those aspects, those attributes of those decision-making conditions to really make the best assumptions on how you're going to solve that problem and what ultimately you're going to do to make a decision in terms of certainty and risk and uncertainty. Okay, now here's one with uncertainty, and this is, sorry, where I thought I had the video, that's what this is talking about. So these are and you can see that this is highlighted, so you should really understand a lot about this, and I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to cover as much time on this, but here it is that understand the differences between the three approaches. One is maxi-max, and all you got to know around that is that, yeah, this is a risk taker approach. This is always looking at the most profitable and best case scenario, but there's a heck of a lot of risk involved in that. And then maxi-min is that you want to maximize the minimum possible payoff. So now you're looking at, you're being a little more risk adverse. And then the last one is that mini-max. So you want to be risk neutral. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to minimize the maximum regret. And this is how it translates. So, mini-max is that, if you do nothing, well, then the worst that can happen is you could lose $1 billion. But if you do this large expansion as a maxi-max, well, you can make a whole pile of money, if oil prices rise. But if oil prices fall, you're going to lose a whole pile of money. So, it's the biggest gain, but the thing is, it's the biggest fall as well. And then you can get something in between, for the maxi-min, so that, you'll have a reasonable gain, but then you won't have as big of a fall. So here's this video here that kind of goes through this. You can link into this video and see how this is all calculated. And it will really give you an understanding of thinking about that. But you really need to know, something about this, going forward. Okay, and then here's where one of the participation activities come in. And excuse me here, I'm just going to have a little drink. We're getting close to, we're getting fairly close to the end of this topic, and then we'll take a break and then do topic 3, and it's a lot shorter. Okay, so there's bias everywhere. Like cognitive bias is everywhere, and it's important. You can see that it's underlined to understand, what these types of biases are. All right, and there's a lot of them, and so that learn the definitions of those, and then understand the role, of artificial intelligence in decision making. So why use machines to make decisions? Humans can't process all information, and humans suffer from a lot of bias. So that's going to take away a lot of biases, but it still we still need to guide AI to get to the outcomes that we want to get to. And let me kind of give you an idea of why this is going to become more and more prominent with AI. It's all about big data, right? And big data is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So humans can't possibly get into that big data and make sense out of it. So they need AI algorithms to go in and learn and then improve on how they can extract correlations to be able to determine things. And I'm going to get into the stages of using big data and how that goes in the next slide here. But that's the biggest reason. And the thing is that it's not going to it's going to focus on the data. But think of it though, you're a business practitioner that's setting up the AI, and in the setting up you will have cognitive biases. So you still have to recognize, because you'll probably shift the AI to focus in a certain area, and that may be because of a bias. So it's a double-edged sword. Okay, so different reasons for doing AI decision making, identifying high-value customers, shortlisting applicants, you name it, it's there. And the thing is, it's all about big data, and then what can possibly come out of it. And then here's where you come in now in making the human judgment to be able to make that decision, that business decision. So now you're part of the you're part of the machine process in finalizing what actually happens. And that's why you need to really hone your skills and capabilities and competencies to be able to play a role, in management, in the next few years. Okay, so what is, AI decision making? It's augmentation, and you can do a lot more predictive, and you can do, a lot more prescriptive analytics to recommend alternatives. So let's go to the next slide. So you've got all this data, all right, and it shows you a picture of what's there, and then it gives you a sense of the next step is that, okay, how did these correlate? And that gives you a diagnostic approach. So some factors will correlate strongly and others won't. So then you can combine the impact of those factors to now start predicting how customers are going to behave, right, through that. So you can get to the predictive level. And then once those predictive algorithms are working, confidently, and that, hey, that's, they're 99% robust, well, then you can start doing prescriptive, saying, hey, we know what the outcomes are going to look like. So now we're going to start driving policy to be able to show some requirements on a recommendation on strategies, based on particular challenges or whatever. So that's where this is all going. And AI is going to just amplify all that. So again, let's go back to Amazon. I told you to go to the assessments, take a look at the the team assignment that you're going to have to do, and it's things like this you should really tune into, as you're learning, to be able to answer those questions much better. So Amazon has a decision-making process of their own, and so look at the factors. Decisions must delight customers. They may invent a way to a solution. They result in operational excellence. The two pizza rule I talked about. No more people in a meeting than two pizzas can feed. You got to think long term. You've got to look at optimism. And this is only day one. Where is this going? Those kind of things. You're gonna do that survey, but you can see this key. So if you take a look at the key management requirements, attributes that you're going to look for, they mainly they run into this area. Okay, in terms of these are the attributes that you're going to look for in terms of what you're looking for a candidate. And you can see as a manager, well, look at, we've got the 4 functions of management. So planning and organizing, strong leadership, loyal and respectful, detail oriented, caring and supportive. We're going to talk about triple bottom line, dependable, cooperative, loyal, achievers, quality conscious, Now, if I was hiring an accountant, I might look at this differently, because look at, this is kind of more suitable to an accountant. Recognizing, solving problems, can see both the big picture and the details. Has determination, very trustworthy, very innovative. Seeing possibilities for improvement. Independent, logical, strategic thinker, quick learner. Right. So it's what is the application, and that's where you fit. But the thing is, it's not static, right? You can have different attributes, but you can adjust, right? So here we're going to ask you to go in and do that true colors. So what do? You click on that and you get a PDF, and and you answer the questions. You answer those questions and you score them, and then you take those scores and then add them up, and then you can actually show all the questions on one piece of paper and the scores. You scan that as a document or put it in a PDF form if you're typing it, and then you upload it, on the next activity just below to be able to do that learning activity. So that's what I'm looking for. Okay. I just want to bring your attention to Chip and Dan Heath. I've read most of their books, and what they are is Chip and Dan are brothers, and one was an educator and one was a marketer. So it's a really good combination of describing ideas, in layperson terms. And what they've done is, has shown you, how to make really good decisions. And the thing is that Chip and Dan Heath, in all their books, they bring real life stories, to each of those decision components to really kind of make their home. I've read this book; it's fantastic. And if at minimum, just find the outline on Google and read the concepts that are in that course. And then understanding, decision making with uncertainty. You try to know what you don't know, and that's really dangerous if you don't know what you don't know. You may look at some options that you just don't understand what the implications could be, and the whole idea then is to you want to validate and document your assumptions, because you want to revisit those assumptions, and then you want to pilot your solution. You test it to see if it's viable, and then improve on it. So we're going to talk about total quality management a lot. Well, this is the continuous improvement cycle that Deming is worked on with Schuhart, and it's plan, do, check, act. So you identify those problems, you create a solution and you test it, you look at the results, and then the results, you test your assumptions, and then you recalibrate, and then you implement the best solution, and then you keep on doing this, over and over again. Plan, do, check, act. Okay, so that's what that's all about. So I think this is key, is that personality is not static. It's not the same. You do not think, feel, and behave the same way at home as you do at work, and conditions will make you change. So you need a rethink. So the whole idea on that slide is to understand that you may have a preference, and you'll see in the true colors is that you're going to have a score for blue. You're going to have a score for yellow, but the highest score is your preferential mode. But you can fall into a different style. So that's one thing that leading HR consultants, like global consultants, would say, is that and when it comes to decision styles, when it comes to management styles, you should have at least 4 different styles that you can work through. You may prefer one, but at least 4, because management is situational in today's world. Conditions change all the time, and it depends. That's the answer. It depends, right? It depends on the situation. Okay, so that's an article that can help you. Not going to talk about this too much because we're running out of time. But what I want to stress, though, is that you make decisions whether you know it or not based on your personal values. And it behooves you to understand what personal core values you do have. And I encourage you to do this assessment, because you do, it affects the way you make decisions, and you should understand how you're making decisions based on your core values, and that will give you a lot more insights, and then you'll understand your biases as well. Okay, so that's where that is, and then understand that it's all about getting alignment, and that's why trying to use different management principles to get alignment will get you to the results that you need to. So here's one thing that I kind of put together. In my little business, I've made these business knowledge maps. So for getting people aligned and going in the same direction, you need clarity, and then you need to show them where they need to focus, and then you need to show them where they can make the biggest impact to get the results, and how to get those results and maintain them. So clarity is not just one thing. It starts with direction and vision and what you intend to do, and authentic desires and your purpose and your core values. That all kind of sets up clarity. And the focus is, all these, what I've learned in strategic planning is critical success factors are one of the key components of getting an organization to focus. And then impact, old-fashioned commitment, old-fashioned discipline, getting into routines. That 40% of what we do in life are habits. We got lazy brains, and we break into particular habits. That's no different corporately. There's corporate habits and corporate routines. So you can fine tune those routines. The total quality management movement have identified certain routines that will build quality into process. Like just checklists. Coming out of a hospital operation. Did we leave something in the body? That kind of thing. And then the different tools, like time management is really important. Change management, we're going to talk about a lot. People management, process management, project management, performance management. What gets measured, gets done. So that's key. And I think that's where I'm going to take this. Yeah. All right, so I'd like you to go through this. I think what you need to know about change. All right, let's just talk about change for a few minutes. This is a classic change curve. And I think just knowing this will serve you well as a manager, knowing that, when a change really is the process to undergo a transformation, right? And to have change management knowledge and insights and capabilities will go a long way in getting your people aligned on what they have to do. And guess what? Like 70% of projects fail in North America, roughly, right? And most of the reasons are people reasons, not the technology, not the infrastructure that you needed. It was about, we just didn't work this change through where people were confident to get to that end game. Right. And so here's what you need to know about change is that, at the beginning, people don't understand what they're losing. Right. So they'll go along with it and you'll start getting a high performance. But all of a sudden now, you start encountering barriers. You start encountering challenges. You start encountering people like changes that say, OK, well, hang on, I was a manager and I had an annual budget of $100,000. And with this change, my budget is down to $50,000. Does that mean I'm demoted? Does that mean I'm going out the door? Right? So what happens is you get down into what consultants call the valley of despair. And guess what? Every transformation has that track. So there's this book by Bridges, a fitting name, called Transitions. And what Bridges talks about is that you need to go from endings to new beginnings. And to get you through that transition, you need certain things that are working for you, like, the bright spots, in terms of maybe you have a good HR group and they can train well. So you use that capability to get you through that transition. So if you know you're going to go through this, one is that when some of the wins that you get, and they're going to call, they call, a low-hanging fruit, or, wins that come up that are easy to get, you celebrate those wins because you know that you're going to get this downtime. You're going to go into this valley of despair. So it gets people through that until you start climbing up that curve. And if I can use this $100 million word, the changes get inculcated into the normal routine of business. This is how we do things now. And people start to see the advantages of doing that. And then all of a sudden, they start, jumping back on the train and getting it done. So the thing is that recognize this, and you can see that you could smooth this, this valley out a little bit by putting in good measures, to working through that. So it's getting through this transition state. And what do? You need really good project management, but you need exceptional change management because it's the people side that normally will take you down, all right, on that piece. So here's some read-throughs on, coaching managers through change, what they need to do, and that's it for topic 2. So okay, I'm going to take another 5-minute break, and then I'm going to screen through topic 3. And the thing is, I might just, maybe I won't be able to finish it by the end of our time period, so I'll pick up a little bit, on next week and when we're going through that. But again, you need to start working through your participation activities, and there's 2 participation activities that are there in topic 3, and they're team participation activities. So we'll try to get done as much as we can, right? So I'm just going to shut my camera down for 5 minutes. Going to come back at 3:36 and then introduce you to topic 3. Okay, and then if you have any questions, just put them on the chat board or unmute when we first start and then ask me some questions. Okay, I'll just remind you that send me emails if you have any questions right now. I know this has been a arduous process, this particular webinar, because of the schedule or whatever. It'll be a little more streamlined, and we'll have time to get into things a little more. And right now, my whole effort right now is to really kind of get you to take a look at participation activity 3A and 3B. All right. So that you understand what you need to do, okay? This is just a quick, this is, helpful hints, hopefully. I just want to make you aware of, getting a professional project management certification along with your degree will go an extremely long way. I mean, in my career, I had PMPs working for me in most cases. And even in like Georgian College, where I came from, most of the associate deans had PMP certifications. Why? Because they really, if you want to understand strategic planning and how getting things done, man, you're really going to learn a lot. So there's the link. I strongly recommend you have a look at it and see if that works with you. Here's another piece that especially if you're going to start your own business. Look at this. Within 5 years, more than 80% of businesses fail. This chap here, he's one of my heroes, Michael Gerber. He's got a real layperson approach, and he's experience of hard knocks. So he really gives the stuff that's important and the insights that you really need to get businesses working. And I think that's really key. So again, understand, I've done a lot of consulting, and in my time, especially with like business owners and managers of smaller businesses and medium-sized businesses, and what you need to understand is the business model. And again, I know when I left my master's program, one of the policy instructors said, if you do anything, learn the business, know the business, and that's where you're going to shine, to be able to, make the right choices in going through, if you know what that business is all about. Okay, so what is a business model? So it's part, knowing what your value proposition is, and that's what you do to satisfy customers, and you're addressing what keeps them awake at night. And we're going to talk about, a value proposition canvas. I'm a big proponent of using tools, and I'm going to introduce you to, Alexander Osterwalder, who's created a lot of these business canvases. You need to understand, how what monies are coming out. You need to understand the value chain, who you're using to help you do your business. So those are kind of things that you need to work about. So this is my buddy here, Alex Osterwalder. He created this one-page business model, and guess what? I did a lot of consulting for federal development and community CFDCs, Community Futures Development Corporations. And most of the business owners that I work with didn't have a business model. So we take a one page and spend half a day building it. And now they could work with their employees and say, this is the key activities in our business. Here's the key partners. Here's what we're really trying to get out to the customers. And it really opened up a lot of avenues. So what you need to know is that the BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada, has just an amazing amount of resources that you could tap into. So I strongly encourage you to go to the link. I'm on their website and their distributions, and I just learned so much, and there's so much tools that they have that they can do for you. So here's all the things that they can do, and they even have an entrepreneur's toolkit that you could access, right from looking at financial tools to developing a plan to all these things. They're all in there. And then you need to understand what benchmarking is, and benchmarking is going to come in handy when you do your cupcake assignment, when you do your Amazon assignment. So really understand what it is. It's benchmarking means that there's industry averages out there of performance or industry standards, and you always want to know where you are in terms of financially and productivity wise, where you fit in your industry. And if you're, if you're on the left side or on the losing side, then you know that you're not going to be around for a long time. So it really kind of gives you an idea of what's going on. And again, if I get back to total quality, you can find benchmarking as a big component, around Six Sigma. And Six Sigma is what they call it's zero defects. And if you could be a black belt Six Sigma facilitator, you can work anywhere in the world and make a lot of cash. Okay, so week 3, look at, you've got all these surveys that you've got to do. So you go through, you click on them, and it takes you to Pearson Revel, and you do those surveys. And now let's talk about the group exercises. So again, I'm trying to get you to think, to do critical thinking. So what am I asking you to do? And this is a group exercise. So the group has to select a specific business of the team's choice. So maybe one of you are working somewhere, in your group. Maybe you're working at Tim Hortons or whatever. Okay. Okay, Anita, somebody's not muted. Somebody's not muted here. How do I do this? Okay. Okay. So what you need to do here is that you pick this business, but you need to be specific about it, and you're going to use this in activities in topic 4 as well. And so you do one or the other. You brainstorm issues with managing a small business, or you brainstorm issues with managing a family business. So you can pick, a regular small business or a family business, and then put your issues down of what you encounter. But give some short reasons why you chose those ideas, because we're trying to, put some context around your choices. Anybody could go to Google and say, well, what are the 10 issues of a small business, and just bang them all down. But I want you to say, yeah, no, I want, Joyce's, cleaning, dry cleaning business specializing in, small families. And so to make these choices very specific, and then giving the reasons that are very specific, so it's more meaningful to what you're doing. So that's topic 3A. You do the table, you upload the table to that piece. The next one is that take a look at, what are the at least 10 strengths of an effective entrepreneur, and provide a reason why you've identified each one of those strengths. So you identify the strengths, and then a reason why you selected that. So that's your activities for, for topic 3. And they're not too onerous, but it'll give you some insights into, where we're going with all these topics, and take a look at that. So, and there's various reasons why people start a business. They satisfy personal objectives. They're looking at, doing something in terms of business objectives. They want independence. They want to help their family if it's a family business. All those things. But look at this. All right. Small and mid-sized businesses make up a big proportion. Average number created 101,000, in those years. Average number of businesses disappeared 90,000, all right? That's why I gave you that reference of Michael E. Gerber, to understand that, you want to start a business, but you want to sustain that business. So here's some, some statistics, and you notice that these are highlighted. So, you're going to have to know a little bit about, that most of the businesses in Canada are small businesses. That's the key learning from all this. And understand what the different types of business ownerships are. And so that, to answer some test questions, you really need to know what these types of businesses are. And you need to know the differentiation between what's a C corporation and an S corporation. And that's in terms of, of liability, and it explains that. So know what a sole proprietorship is all about. What are the attributes of that? Understand what a partnership is, and what the difference between just a regular partnership and a limited partnership. So limited partnership is basically where you've gone to a lawyer and you've outlined that you're not at risk for what your partner does. That's a limited partnership, and you can see here, like on the C corporation, the corporation is income taxed, all right, but on an S corporation, no shareholders pay the tax. It's a pass-through. So understand the distinction between C and S. You can see that that's highlighted. And then understand with franchising, there's different types of arranging. What's the difference between a franchise and a joint venture? And then understand that, if you own something wholly, you have, no partners, but you have a lot more equity invested in, and that there's more at risk. So the less that you own, the less, the less risks there is, and the less control you have. Okay, you have little control if you're franchising something. So that's what this is all about. Getting started. What you need to do to start your own business. Know what starting and buying a franchise is, the pros and cons. Keep that up, and then understand the different modes of getting into business. All right, and know what the difference is between licensing and franchising, so that you've got more pieces here. And then the types of family ownership. And the thing is, if you take a look at that self-audit thing, especially some of you that are working in family ownerships, to really understand, the ins and outs of family ownership, so you could answer those questions better. How much involvement, what are the challenges, this one, this is basically, how people are come, to involved in the actual business. So you go through what they call a RACI. So the sale of the business, well, the owner is responsible for that, but the board is accountable, and then the management, well, they need to be consulted, because there's certain aspects, and then they need to be informed. So that's how that you can get through that decision making. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to take you through. I'm going to find some highlights out of there that, if we missed anything from a test point of view. Sorry for such the rush. It's basically the schedule had dictated, that I'm going through this quickly. But understand that you have commitments for topics 1, topics 2, topics 3. Outline and print out those main assessments, to see what they're asking for. So that what building blocks you need to pay attention to. And as we're going through, those group participation activities are going to get a little more complex, but they will pave the way for helping you do those group assignments, and we'll go from there. Okay, that's where we are. Any questions at all? Anybody want to unmute and ask a question? Okay, we'll leave it at that. I hope that I've inspired you. There's a lot of content, but I guess, knowing that, I'm going to focus on particular areas in the commentary presentations, it's going to relieve, your focus going, on having to look at all these things. And I'm hoping that, you'll take away some insights that you'll go well beyond this course and help you improve your your position and role and accountabilities in the business that you eventually land up in. Okay. Anyways, I'll see you next week. Keep those emails coming in. Get your groups up and running. By tomorrow afternoon, everybody's going to be in a group. I'm going to select for some people, and we'll go from there. Okay. So eat well, get some rest. Rest is really important at your time of life, and going through all these, all these commitments and stuff, and pace yourself out and get into some good success routines. Okay, and we'll talk to you later.